Hello, my name is Mario D'Souza and I'm an independent curator based between Goa and Kochi, and it is my pleasure to share 1,000 Years of Dreaming, artist Debashish Paul's first solo here at Imami Art with all of you. Debashish and I have been in dialogue for the past few years. We worked together during his time at HH Art Spaces, a space that I co-run in Goa, where Paul did a performance residency with us, and later on he worked on two different exhibition projects, Antibodies as well as the Pro Helvetia How to Live Together project that we conducted in Goa. So a lot of the work that you see here today emerges from these conversations, from this dialogue, from the evolution of this body of work since it first started. Paul was born in and raised in Fulia, a small village in West Bengal, and eventually goes on to receive his education from the Banaras Hindu University. And a lot of this work emerges from this context of living and loving from these sites that he also identifies as home. This exhibition is based around this filmic work titled Hazaro Salo Ka Sapna, or 1,000 Years of Dreaming, and essentially it very simply responds to Paul and his partner's love story and the pressure that the both of them face as queer closeted men, the pressure to marry women, and just the negotiation of living in these extremely conservative contexts. So a lot of the work that you see over here is related to the idea of living double lives, leading double lives, of shedding, of crying, of the frustration of these lives. Behind me you see costumes that Paul has worn in the film, and very clearly they present themselves as second skin, adorned in all kinds of religious detritus. So you'll see cowrie shells and religious threads and different kinds of ornaments that are used to adorn deities. And again, like fabric that is used in temples and other various embellishments. Both these costumes are in a way used by the artist as second skin to produce a kind of a mock marriage where you see the artist and his lover engage in a kind of a criticism. Again, this film is shot on the banks of the Ganga in Banaras, so it's a very interesting way of thinking about the perennial, the holy, and what it chooses to accept and what sins it chooses to wash. So we're also like looking at Paul in this almost sandy, desert-like, barren landscape, very atypical of something on the banks of the Ganga, where him and his lover have sort of come together for this ritual of marriage. And you have a local band that's playing music for them while the city glistens in the distance. So there are no spectators. It's a kind of an isolated world, but here Paul is able to build his own idea of lushness with a chosen partner. And then as we move into this room, we will be looking a lot at Paul's sculptural work and costume work, and also like Paul's kind of treatment of fabric as sculpture and using fabric with the tenacity of producing a sculpture. Right here on the central wall, what looks like a textile piece is actually a cape from a costume that Paul has worn in the performance. And right next to it again is a large-scale drawing that kind of morphs the human body with the animal body to speak a little bit about othering, to speak a little bit about the connection of the bestial to the queer body historically. And right opposite it, we see this two-faced sculpture that kind of like also presents the idea of the double lives that men such as Paul and his partner are living, wearing a second skin to come across as something that they are not, but to also be able to say that under this lies a certain kind of like raw, vulnerable beauty. Paul continues to use material that he finds in and around the temple town. So you'll see a lot of stone eyes and a lot of like cowrie shells, and again like adornments that are used on deities. And as we move forward, we see a very special set of small sculptures from Paul. Here I want to also show you and introduce you to these pets, which you also see in the film. Right here in the beginning is this small creature with a singular eye, which also represents a unidirectional way of looking at the world, again adorned with a number of stone eyes and cowrie shells from in and around the temple area. And then under it you see this tail of religious threads again stretching. This is essentially an earthen pot, a replica of an earthen pot made in latex. This pot is used during marriages, and right next to it you see this mouth, again a plastic cast. We don't know whether it is screaming or it's smiling, but it has to look beautiful at all points of time. So it's also like this irony of pretense. And I would like to leave all of you all with this visual of Paul resting after his body is exhausted. After a moment of struggling with the costume, trying to get the second skin off, this striking image represents Paul as he lies and breathes heavily, kind of recuperating from the fatigue of pretending. And I think it's a strong image for me to leave you in this exhibition with.